Ladies and gentlemen, we're here tonight with a very special guest, Mark Baldino of Baldino's Lock, who operates in Virginia, Maryland, and Mark, tell us where all you operate.
Well, we operate in Northern Virginia, Maryland, and suburban Maryland and Baltimore area. So my father started the business in 1961. So we're over 50 years old, and we've expanded, to 15 locations, service a wide metropolitan area, and have about 85 employees throughout the area.
And you, like the rest of us, are having a difficult time with the locksmith scammers and specifically Google.
Correct. And I think we're affected as proportional to everybody else. If you ask around or you ask any company that's affected by the scammers, you say, well, how much business do they take from you? And just give me a percentage. And, is it 10? No, most people shake their head no. 20, a couple, 30, yes, 40. And I would have to say, talking to everybody around the country, if they have the scammers in the area, it's about 35% of their revenue is affected. And it's basically, in my opinion, flat out being stolen. And I also believe the search engines are aiding and abetting the scammers. We'll call them the scammers because they use false information, a false name, a false city. They're not licensed. They're not registered. They're not. They don't pay income tax or sales tax.
Well, that is a problem. And you figure among all of your outlets, they're taking how much from you?
Well, I will say, let me put it this way. I mean, like I say, we've been around, for 50 years. Between all the operations, we do about $10 million a year, which is about normal if you take each location and compute the revenue for each one. But even if you would say it's 10%, for me, it's $1 million a year. That hurts. That's a lot of money. That's the reason I get up and go to work every morning. Otherwise, I'm just barely breaking even right now because of the scammer effect. Some of the other locksmiths I know depend a little bit more on residential and don't have a set book of customers. So absolutely, they're affected even more than that. And that's a lot of revenue. And the question is, why? Why do the search engines allow this false information to be posted on their websites?
Well, I think the answer to that is twofold. I think it's generation of revenue for their shareholders and that they pretty much have blanket immunity under the Communications Decency Act.
Yeah, they do claim immunity under Section 230 of the Federal Communications Decency Law. And the problem with that is they started originally as a search engine, 1992, and you had a box, you put whatever you wanted out there on the World Wide Web, and put the phrase in, and they went out and searched every computer, and they presented the results on the page. Okay? And that's really what the law was written for. They gave immunity to these search engines and said, if a third party wrote it, then they're not liable for the content. And it made sense. It actually is not a bad segment of the law. If you want to go find these guys, go find the person who's hosting it on their website or who wrote it. Okay?
Well,
now,
Mark,
go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. Wasn't the Communications Decency Act originally intended to protect children from porn?
That was one of the original intents. That is not protected under immunity. You're not allowed to have that in any case on any search engine, even if it's a third party. And there's a couple other exceptions also. Can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a couple in there. But for the most part, if you have an opinion about a political figure, or if you feel like the movie was terrible, or you're allowed to write about it. But here's the difference, and this is what's happened over the past 20 years, and it's completely wrong and it's completely illegal. The Communications Decency Act states interactive computer service. Interactive computer service would be one that searches out the whole internet and presents you with the relevant web pages from all the computers searched in the world. There is what's called information content provider, and that is written into the law. Information content provider would actually be the ones providing the information. Okay. Now, what I've alleged and what I feel like I can prove is these search engines are now the information content provider. Real simply, if you go to any of the online directories, Angies List, Yellow Book, Super Pages, absolutely, those listings on their pages they purchased from Axiom or InfoUSA, they are on their website. It is absolutely hard-coded on their website. So they are the information content provider. Okay? What happens now with Bing or Yahoo and our favorite Google is that they also do the same thing. First of all, their maps are a integral part of Google. Nobody on earth can just put a pinpoint on maps. Google has to do it. Why? Because it's their product. So if it's their product, they're the information content provider. AdWords, all the information you get in AdWords, many times if you'll drill down, you'll see that there's a name and a street address in a city that's purely fictional. Well, Google doesn't really care as long as they make money and you pay the bills. So they'll post anything at all. The problem is that is their product. So it's their product. What we found in the past 6 months is a couple things. One, these search engines are both. If they're both, they are guilty. The second thing is that they have developed this information, and these are cases that are out there. I don't have them in front of me. I'm sorry, Charlie, but I can get them to you. They are cases already decided in the federal and state court systems that state if they develop the information, they are responsible for it too. That would cover AdWords. That would cover the maps. That would cover, say, Angies List, who gives everybody in their listings a nice green, page with Angies List and this and this and this. Even though on Angies List it's not been reviewed by a member, and they certainly don't possess any licensing or registrations required by Angies List to list anybody. So why do they post all this fraudulent information is a question. And of course, easy answer, money. They just want to create a lot of competition, whether it's false or true, so everybody's forced to pay to be seen. Pure and simple greed.
So you filed a lawsuit or two against Google. Tell us what's happened in the trial courts and then also what's going on in the appeals courts.
Well, we have filed with Google, Yellow Pages. We are currently looking really hard at Bing, Yahoo, City Search, Yelp. Did I say Yelp? Angies List, but all the rest. Okay, but here's what's happened. We're waiting. We're waiting for our court case. We're waiting to get a chance to go to court with a jury. The judges so far, and this is our American justice system, the judges so far have deemed our case unworthy. that we're just a bunch of crazy people arguing that Google is breaking the law, yet we cannot go to court yet to present our case. If I can go to court and present our case, I can absolutely prove what I just stated. They are an information content provider.
So what's happened so far is you've gone to court in the trial court. The Google has and the others have moved for dismissal. The judges have granted the dismissals, and now you're in the appeals court waiting for the appeals court to do something. Is that
correct? We are waiting for the appeals case. We have 3 judges, which should be in Richmond, Virginia. We look like December or January when one will get our chance. There's no question Google's fighting this tooth or nail. If Google were to be found guilty of being an information content provider and damaging locksmiths under the Lanham Act, and the Lanham Act is basically the business-to-business type damage. Much like slander or libel for an individual, Lanham Act means business-to-business. So Google is not allowed to hurt my business, nor can they hurt any other locksmith business out there. And of course, by posting all this fake information and not verifying it, they most certainly are doing that. And actually, the whole country should be pretty irate, because it's not just locksmiths, it's auto glass, it's carpet cleaning, plumbers, HVAC. This is being done over and over to basically every service trade out there. And Google is fighting it tooth and nail. If they were to lose, it would be worth billions to all the service companies that they had wronged. So I'm really curious to see what they say. I know they're fighting it in our under the appeals process. You both present your case. They have a firm in New York City, and their brief was over 560 pages long. You can only imagine how much money that cost them.
And yet you didn't send me a copy. If I remember right, there was a case involving Google in Australia that either they lost or they settled or something.
Well, in Europe, they're under in the court system for antitrust or monopoly. In Australia, true. The thing on Australia and Europe and other countries is they're a little bit more stricter on their definition of what you can do on the internet. And in the United States, they almost have a carte blanche to say anything they want to say. Oh yeah, just claim it's third party, and you can publish it however you want on your internet, and it's okay. We don't care if it's true or fake or whatever, but you're not responsible, even though you take what would be a Post-it note and make it a billboard on the side of the road. And you do that for free for all these guys who know how to fool the system, know how to put a pinpoint on the maps. And fully documented. If anybody really wants to find out how to do it, just get Brian Seeley's book on cyber fraud. And he put on over 10,000 auto glass repair locations on Google. Knows how to do it, knows all the tricks. And basically any scammer, anybody with this talent who wants to be dishonest can put their own pinpoint on the maps, absolutely. It's not a hard thing, but he's a guy who put on the White House, Eric Snowden's secret White House, and put a pinpoint on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's how easy it is.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, you too can make Google Maps look like it has measles.
Yes. So, this is a well-known fact of Google. I've talked to Google's head of spam and data quality, Mark Ewing. And he knows what they're doing. He even knows how they're doing it. I've had many, many discussions before we started the legal action of how to correct this. I mean, number one, just verify every pinpoint. I mean, easily done. First of all, why don't you try calling them up? Hey, can I come in and cut a site key? Oh, no, you're dispatch only, or you don't have a location there? Then why do you have a pinpoint on our maps?
Well, Mark, isn't it a little easier than that? I mean, you can go on, take any address off the internet and put it onto melissadata.com and have it come up and say, no, that's not a valid street number.
That is correct on their own on the internet itself. What they use, you can just put the reverse address search. Who comes up? Gas station, restaurant. Sometimes it's a vacant street. Many times I discovered, in over 25,000 we reported the Associated Locksmiths of America efforts to rid the country. 25,000, but about 60% of them were what I called phantom addresses. They were an address just made up. It was like a phantom or gap address. If you had 8816, and then the block jumped to 8900, then use 8818. There wasn't an 8818, but it got posted on the maps anyway, like it existed. So who's going to complain if there's nobody at that address? See?
Well, yeah, and the whole notion that Google is incapable of ascertaining that the addresses it's published don't actually exist on this planet is just silly.
Well, but there's a lot of guys who have trouble with even keeping their own business on, and they have an address.
Right.
And I had that problem with mine. I run more of a mobile shop than a shop location, but I do have a location that customers can come to. Whether I'm there all the time is a whole different story, but they wouldn't let me be on there. And I had sent it verified twice. They've called. They actually did talk to me. They will call from a 650 number out of San Francisco. So,
and that's, yes, I agree, and that's what I don't understand. And it was catch as catch can on my own business. Even, I mean, my location, some of them have been around 25 years, longer. They would get taken down. Everybody, and it's like some random thing would come through and just go, every other one, oh, we're taking it off this week.
Yeah.
And then you're battling to get it back on.
And then you battle 6 months to get it back on.
Yeah, I don't have any reason for that. That's one reason why I love to get them in court to ask them, why, how did you, what do you determine when you remove somebody? What criteria? Now, we do know at the time when we were reporting them, we'd send a list to India, and we would actually talk to, I call it a gatekeeper in India. We have his name, we have who they are. Again, we'd love to get them in court to bring them in and say, what were you doing? But he would get the list, and they would go through and sort of re-verify them on their own or whatever, and we'd give them reasons why they didn't exist. First of all, most of them, there's no address there that they're affiliated with. And they would remove them, and they'd be going along. And then finally that ended. We would send them, and nothing would happen. And we're not sure why. But, you know, like say, easily verified, easily 10 different ways. You can go on state sites, state business sites, you know, with the state tax ID identification or corporate registration, like say reverse address search. You even have, you know, the Google Street View. You can look at the shopping center with the Street View and see what was really there. So why they were so lazy, or why they made it so easy for people to place the bogus listings, I don't know. I do believe, you know, the underlying case would be somebody in the advertising department said, you know, we're not going to get anybody to pay for AdWords as long as there's 3 locksmiths, you know, in a city. So why don't we place 50 there in this the three will have to pay if they want to be seen, but along with the bogus ones, they want to pay, we'll post them too.
That does bring up a question, Mark. When we have places like Angies List that just buy up all the thousands and thousands of listings from Axiom, how exactly is it that they make any money from the criminals that are advertising all these dozens of phone numbers when they aren't paying Angie a nickel to have their numbers and phony addresses displayed? How does Angie or anybody else or Google make money from displaying the phony information?
They really don't, other than creating this false sense of competition.
Exactly.
They at one point, I think, bottom for their salespeople. They don't know. At first, maybe they didn't know. Like, let's buy up all the restaurants. They're pretty, movie theaters. They have to be there. Gas stations, they have to be there. And then here you go, locksmiths or service trades. And they had their salespeople call them all up. Of course, 90% of them just led to a dead-end street. But they left them in. In the old days, there is something to be said about the print yellow pages, where you were not going to get a listing unless they came and visited you and you paid them for whatever size listing or display ad, or they didn't want to take up the space if you weren't paying. But with today's internet websites, it almost costs nothing to put an address or listing in. So figure the cost of listing them and looking important, because you have every locksmith in the country, which I have counted from some of these data providers, over 40,000 locksmiths in America, which I know is not true. There may be 5,000 or 6,000 real ones, but nowhere close to that 40,000 number. There's nowhere close to, if you go to Zip Local, 299 in Alexandria, Virginia. There's only 3 with a physical location in Alexandria, Virginia.
All right. Well, we're running a little short of time here. If you had one word for consumers, what would you tell consumers to look out for, and what action should consumers take?
I would say if you're a consumer trying to find a reputable company, and definitely on the locksmith side, call them up. Ask them if you can visit them. Ask them if they have a mobile service, not a dispatch point. You're not talking to a dispatch room. You're actually talking to the locksmith himself. And, listen to what they have to say. It's tough out there, but most of the guys are honest. You can tell right away. I would have to say that about 100% of the time, when you call up one of these scamming organizations, you'll get a dispatch center and ask them to come visit, or where they're really at. Do they have a truck that they can send there? Are you registered in the state? It's tough. I got to tell you, they are really good. I have had over 19 times they have used my name, started a business, put a location on that was totally false, and when you called them up, said, yes, it's Baldino's Lock and Key, and it was not a number going to my shop at all. So they will claim they're anybody. If you say, is this 24-hour lock service? They will go, yes. Is this Memphis lock service? They'll say yes. They will claim or mimic any locksmith out there. So just be careful.
All right. Well, good luck with your ongoing court cases, and I will talk with you a bit later.
I'll keep you advised of what's going on, Charlie. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.